Hello, this is Jill Fielding, and this is what's caught my eye in the media this week. I noticed that Pret-a-Manger are employing 3,000 people to cope with the increased demand now lockdown is over. And it's exactly the same number of people that they let go last year. So 3,000 out and now 3,000 back. And whilst that's wonderful news that they've got back to their normal employment levels, I do wonder how the people themselves feel. Now, some of the people that were let go last year have found other jobs and won't ever go back to press, I'm sure, but there will be some that will. So last year they lost their job and this year they've got their job back. And I wonder whether that makes them feel as if they're being pushed around, as if they're not really of value to anybody because they're just dispensable. And it makes me realise that actually having a job is a double-edged sword. It can be obviously a positive thing. You can earn a salary, you can get connected, but on the other hand, you're not in control of your destiny. And that's why I personally prefer to be my own boss, to be my own master, to invest, to own a business, and take full responsibility for my money and where it comes from, because nobody can fire me. I can promote myself if I want to. I've got job security. Nobody can tell me when I can and can't work and where I can and can't work. So I personally feel that's much better for me. And for most people, they can have both worlds. They can have the best of both worlds. They can have a job and invest in the evenings and weekends and in their spare time to create a bit more responsibility and control and a bit more certainty with their financial flows, such that they're not really at the beck and call of an employer and what the employer wants to do. So get control, get some responsibility and some certainty back into your life, and look at investing a little bit somewhere to create some income in the future. Now, all the news this week has been about the gas price issue and the fact that gas prices are about to go up and will go up again next year as the price cap increases both in October and April next year. And I don't particularly want to talk about gas prices because it's quite depressing actually, but what I do want to talk about is this issue of financial control and maintaining records, for example. There are 5 principles of wealth creation, and the first one is knowing what comes in and what goes out and where it goes. And if you have been doing that for a while, and I certainly record all of my expenditure, and I record it in categories, and so gas bills would be in what I call the home category, because it's what costs my home to keep my home going. So it's the gas, the electricity, and so on. So if you did have records that calculated how much your gas bill was and how much you thought you were going to spend into the future, then the current crisis over the gas price increases won't make you quite as fearful and won't make you quite as panicked compared to those people who have no records at all. Because if you know that there's an issue coming, you can plan for it and you can adjust your expenditure accordingly. So if, for example, you know you're going to have to spend a lot more on gas bills, well, then you can look at your records and see where you could possibly cut back, say cut out a takeaway somewhere in order to pay for the gas bill. So it gives you a sense of more certainty, it gives you data, it gives you information on which to make a better decision. It also gives you better data on which you can plan for future expenditure and expenditure rises. So it might be too late for many people to keep records to cope with this current crisis, but for those of you that have been keeping records, you'll be in a much better position. So if you don't currently keep records about your expenditure, start today. You might find it helpful in the crisis of the future. And finally, a heartwarming or perhaps not story of a real life tortoise and hare. And this is of a story about a wonderful man called Omar Ahmed, who took part in what he thought was the Bristol 10,000 kilometre run. Unfortunately, at exactly the same time, the Bristol Half Marathon was being run, and somehow he got out in front in the 10,000-kilometre race and ended up as part of the Bristol Half Marathon, which he then went on to win, curiously. Unfortunately, he was then disqualified because he hadn't actually entered the Bristol Half Marathon, and there was also some confusion about the fact they'd spelt his name wrong on his shirt, so they weren't quite terribly sure who he was. And another runner, a guy called, I think, Chris Thompson, who ran much slower than Omar Ahmed, actually was awarded the first prize on the Bristol Half Marathon. And there's lots of stories in that and lots of lessons we can learn from it. First of all, for Chris Thompson, it just goes to show that the tortoise does sometimes beat the hare, because he never ran as fast as Omar, but nonetheless still won the race. For Omar, it teaches us that we have to be certain of the rules and the route on the journey in which we're traveling in order to get to the right place. And that's true for running 10,000 kilometers. It's true for running a business. It's true for any goals that you want to set in your life. Find out the exact route, find out where you need to end up, find out the exact route and journey along that route without deviation. You can't win if you're not on the right road. Quite interesting. Keep safe, and I'll speak to you again next week.